What is okay to steal? Digital goods that are no longer sold or distributed by any other means other than piracy. You wouldn't download a bear. Pens from a college admissions counselor at a college fair. One time Amazon sent me two of the same product, but I only paid for and needed one, so I sent the extra back and got the refund. I like to think I stole from Amazon that day. I have had something break on me 46 days after purchased and ordered another, refunded the second one, sent them the first one, kept the second one. I call that sticking it to the corporate man. Edit, I was outside the 30-day return time frame, roughly 2 weeks. If any other third-party sellers want to try guilting me, don't bother. I don't feel bad for essentially replacing a $10 shitty product with the same product. How do I know it was shitty? The second one broke within 2 weeks, but it wasn't worth the damn hassle at that point. The vague threats to dox me are special to my heart since they're on a public forum. Now I know there's a few of you who can't see this unless you have all the accounts, but let me introduce you to my block button. The ducks at the lake. They're free. I have 28 ducks. Nobody tells you this. You can just claim ownership of any animals you want. See a whale? It's your whale. Who's gonna argue with you? What are they gonna do? Take your whale? Media, and in particular games, that have no longer first-party releases, and the only way to get them is through third-party overpriced sellers. In other words, it is morally just to emulate obscure vidya. Honestly, pirates have saved so many video games from oblivion. Hello everybody, welcome back to Ask EmKay. My name is Mason. Let's get right into it. What's a piece of propaganda that to this day still has many people fooled? Today I learned Reddit has no idea what propaganda is. People not understanding the word propaganda. Edit, a word. Came here to learn cool shit, leaving very disappointed. Propaganda is when an English guy takes a really good look at something. It took me a second. Propaganda. The term carbon footprint, it was coined by British Petroleum to shift the responsibility of climate change onto the common people. Same thing with plastic recycling and the numbers on plastics. It was a marketing ploy to convince people it was okay to buy plastic goods and not worry about plastic pollution, even though no one was really recycling anything, and even today a majority of plastics are not recycled. They shifted the responsibility to consumers and covered up the problem. Plant Money has a podcast on it, Wasteland, September 11th, 2020, explaining what happened and is still happening in plastics and petroleum industry. Guinness is high in iron. This was used to market beer to pregnant women. For real. 1 ounce of nuts has twice as much iron as a Guinness. Edit. Cool. My biggest comment ever is about Guinness. In Ireland, Guinness was given to new mothers after they gave birth in the hospital. My Irish mother was told she could drink a glass of Guinness while pregnant. Probably explains why me and my brother are thick as lol. Catherine the Great a horse. That piece of propaganda, which was spread by her enemies, was even mentioned in Wikipedia about her. The horse thing is propaganda, but at the end of her reign, something like 10% of the state budget was being used to pay off her various lovers. The McDonald's hot coffee lady smear campaign. Coffee is generally 130 degrees Fahrenheit. McDonald's was 200. McDonald's has been cited on 7 other occasions that they were keeping their coffee at a dangerously hot temperature. The woman had 4th-degree burns to her genitalia. She simply asked McDonald's to pay the $20,000 in medical bills. They refused, and she sued for the $20K. The $9 million was added by the jury. Background for why the coffee was hot. The McDonald's franchise instructed employees to serve the coffee stupid hot so breakfast buyers would not have enough time to allow the coffee to cool off. Folks finishing their food would have to take the hot coffee away and not get a refill. This increased the turnover rate and reduced refills. The McDonald's knew this and cited multiple times not to engage in this practice, as other people had gotten injured enjoying their hot lava in a paper cup. What are the we don't talk about these things history of your country? In Romania, we don't talk about pre-World War I and interwar peasants uprisings that have been violently put down. Everybody gives the image of a perfect Romanian state and society in this time, but many forgot that our independence war, we had more frontline deaths from diseases that should have been relatively easy for us to treat at the time than from enemy gunfire. Not to mention the 1907 peasant uprisings. Also the Second World War and the politics in our country at the time. Edit, at 1.2k upvotes, I find myself reading comments stating the same thing about their countries. I guess nobody wants to remember the specifics of World War II, just like you don't want to remember the specifics of that one night stand where you drank too much and can't be bothered to remember. Switzerland, we don't talk about Verdingkinder. It's basically child slavery as recently as 1960. You can't imagine the horror of poor people's children being sold to farmers for field work, getting abused, visual and sexual, in the richest country in the world. Yeah, we don't talk about that. In recent years, we talked about it much more, and there are movies and stuff. What we did to traveling people's children and their mothers is less known, and also how we profiteered during World War II. Well, in America, war profiteering is one of the first things people think of when we talk about Switzerland. Romanian Holocaust. Romanian people deny that we had mass murders during World War II, that Jewish and were killed, and that we send a lot of them in concentration camps like Auschwitz. Interesting story about that from the book Street Without without joy. Brazil destroyed Paraguay, killing almost every man and a lot of its women and children. It was a proper massacre. Some context here. Some historians estimate that as much as 90% of the adult male Paraguayan population died in the war. 69% of the population is estimated to have died war, illness, hunger. 90% of that percentage was male. Here in South Africa, the true native people, the Khoikhoi, are the most politically and economically disadvantaged people, and no one gives a not local, not internationally. When the remains of Sartje Bartman and a Khoikhoi woman, read her story, it's pretty awful, were returned to South Africa, not only were Khoikhoi people not invited to her burial, they were actively kept out. Was hunting for the South African comment, was bittersweet when I found it, nevertheless, the truth should be made clear. People in Sweden get really uncomfortable when you point out that we, as a country, were really into eugenics. The Race Biological Institution was founded in 1922, supported by every political party and the king at the time. It existed until 1958 and, as you might expect, did some really f***ed up things. I want to add to that, the medal given by the Swedish king for best contribution in anthropology and cultural geography was named after Anders Retzius, a big name in the history of race biological studies in Sweden. The medal was given out from 1913 to 2013, but stopped finally at 2015 when some scientists raised the question if this is right, which obviously was not. What is the trashiest wedding you've been to? At a park. Pickup trucks with igloo coolers opened on the tailgate were the bar. Everything was served in red Solo cups before the wedding. Everyone got drunk. Bride walked down the aisle drinking from a red Solo cup instead of holding a bouquet. It was essentially a tailgate party with a preacher invited. The bride and her sisters did a striptease lap dance on the groom immediately following dinner in front of his grandmother. And her sister? Sisters, plural. Surely the video of the bride walking down the backyard aisle while dirty dancing to her own recorded cover of Crazy Bitch has gotta be up there somewhere. Wow, this definitely is a new level of trashy. I was struck by the poor guy in the plaid suit with the what the f expression trying to cover his son's ears. Also, it appeared the groom and groomsmen were wearing blue bandanas on their heads. Probably my dad's second marriage. Along the banks of a river with trailer homes in the background. He's wearing a tuxedo t-shirt and rainbow mirror sunglasses. The ceremony took place at noon. He'd been drinking since 5 a.m. I had to walk one of the bridesmaids down a flight of steps and as she was legally blind and someone asked me if I was going to bang her. Absolute f***ing legend. Please tell me he had a mullet and a horseshoe mustache. My own. In a Mississippi judge's office with a bag of Cheetos on her desk, she wiped her hands on a napkin, grabbed a Bible, and did her thing with orange crumbs on her lips. Her work heels were not on because she was in her office. It was extremely rushed. I understand that she was on her break, but we didn't mind waiting. I don't know why they rushed us through. I got married by a Hooters general manager who is also a judge. What's your most controversial food opinion? Remember to sort by controversial for the real answers. Edit, people are asking how to do this, blah, blah, blah. Holy crap, you weren't kidding. The top comments are popular negative opinions and controversial comments are where the questions is answered. The replies attacking the most controversial comments are really getting me going. Like, what did you expect in this thread? The many threads of meat eating are especially spicy. Chunks of tomatoes are nasty. Pureed is fine, but big chunks turn me off. This is me. That's literally me. I relate to that quite a bit. Brussels sprouts are actually quite delicious if prepared right though. I know that traditional chili omits beans, but for me, it isn't chili without them. The more the better. Chili as a topping, no beans. Chili as a meal, gotta have beans. You ever try chili as a topping with beans? Frosting is way too sweet. It's disgusting. My mouth cannot handle that crappy buttercream yellow cake. My tongue spazzes. Cream cheese frosting though. I also hate store-bought icing, but I absolutely love cream cheese frosting. No recipe is sacred. They're all eligible for reinterpretation regardless of your emotional attachment to them. You better hope the Italians don't see this. I wouldn't worry. As long as you get a few Italians who didn't grow up together, they'll disagree what the right recipe is anyway. There are very few truly traditional recipes, after all, for the majority of people throughout history. Their meals were determined by availability. People separated by a mere 30 miles would have used completely different ingredients and followed completely different recipes. What is the best response to "I'm pregnant"? According to my mom, my dad shook her hand and told her congratulations when she told him she was pregnant with me. Sorry for the error. I'm Italian. This is some Hank Hill right there. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm all about propane and propane accessories. Not good at an accent, but whatever. I don't care. If you're unsure if it's a good or bad thing, just say OMG really and let her elaborate. My coworker had a surprise pregnancy. When she told me, I asked, is this good news or bad news? She sighed and said, it's just news. Oof. She probably wanted the baby, but either not at that time, not with that person, or she just didn't want kids and hasn't come to terms with it yet. Are you sure it's yours? I said this to my wife when we found out she was pregnant. The joke being that she had all the signs of ovarian cysts and pregnancy was quite unlikely. Yet it happened twice. Nature, finds a way. These pregnant people were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. I remember when my sister announced her pregnancy, I had food poisoning, so immediately upon her announcing it, I ran out and threw up in the sink. Perfect opportunity to say me too right before you ran to the bathroom. I always make it about me. Might as well let her her have this one. She can have the limelight for once, until her wedding day, that is. With what? Love it. My plan, which husband and I came up with way before he knocked me up. When people ask if I want a boy or a girl, is to say that we're hoping it's a puppy. Only if you're doing it doggy style. I know you are, but what am I? Not the father? Fatality over here. Which is normal in your country, but strange in another. Getting your car smashed in by a kangaroo one day and then having your suspension wrecked by a wombat 2 weeks later. I'm convinced all kangaroos are suicidal because they seem to actively jump towards your car when you pass them. There's so many near my place, and we just have to go slow. It's a 100-kilometer road. Because you just know the second you get near one that's on the road, it's going to boing into you instead of going any other way that won't get it killed. Boing into you. I wish deers boinged. Stupid deer. Only spronging. We want boinging. Doing PE barefoot. I'm from South Africa and moved to Scotland 3 years ago, and as I left the changing room, they were like, "You forgot your shoes, my guy." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you guys wear shoes for PE?" And the guy said, of course. Then I realized they were indoors majority of the time, which was fucking bonkers to me because PE in South Africa is done on the grass, outside and stuff, and shoes were optional unless you were doing a sport or something. I mean, even during sport events, some people do that barefoot, like long jump or high jump or even running. And I feel like I run faster barefoot than with shoes on. So if I did a race, I would always go, all right, well, I'm up, time to get my shoes off. Calling traffic lights robots. South Africa. I just learned about that. That's cool, I guess. Being terrified of common neighborhood birds every spring. Magpies? That's a bingo. What's wrong with magpies? They're really well liked in my country. Custom meds? What? I recently found out that in most countries, you can't just go into a pharmacy drugstore with a prescription and have the pharmacist prepare a set of pills, ointment, cream for you. I used to have severe dandruff problems, went into a pharmacy and asked for something. The pharmacist asked how severe, for how long, what kind of shampoo I have, and how greasy my hair is, and told me to come back 2 days later. She handed me a container with a cream-like substance in it, which just had a handwritten label on saying, "My name, dandruff shampoo." I paid the equivalent of $4 and was told to use it twice a week for no longer than a month. Never had any problems with dandruff since. I made a post about it in r/TIFU about how I'd been neglecting my dandruff problem for years while it had such an easy fix, and people kept PMing me about the brands of the drug. Everyone was incredulous. The pharmacist made the shampoo for me, and I found out that this isn't the norm in a lot of countries. Nudity among strangers. I'm Finnish. #sauna. I like Finland. Everyone is awkward as fuck all day, but somewhere after dinner, you get naked and drunk together. We are all nude in German saunas as well. That's done in Japan too. Who is the one celebrity that everyone loves? Alan Rickman. Oof, this one hurts. Him and Robin Williams. Steve Buscemi. The man is a certified legend, especially after 9/11 happened, when other celebrities made appearances to boost their self-images. He quietly suited up. He's a former NYC firefighter from before his acting career took off, and assisted other firefighters in rescuing people, cleaning up the debris, with no intention other than to help those in need of being helped. I have so much respect for him because of that. He also attends all FDNY funerals of men who've died while fighting fires. Saw him at my uncle's funeral a couple years back and was told about it by my relatives. Mr. Rogers. One of my favorite YouTube videos is him talking to the US Senate to help funding for PBS. Guy was just a true good person. Mine is when he talks to us as grown-ups and tells us how proud of the people we have become. F***ing dust storm every time. Sir David Attenborough. I sometimes play Planet Earth episodes and sleep to his calming voice like a lullaby. Here is a gray whale. Oh look, her babies are getting killed by a pod of orcas. Oh well, here are a bunch of walruses. Oh look, they are jumping to their deaths off a cliff due to climate change and their eyesight. Sleep tight. Brendan Fraser after the internet bullied him. Great actor. I loved him in The Mummy 1 and 2 and in Bedazzled. How did the internet bully him? That's horrible. I'm sure you could find the full story online somewhere, but from what I know, someone made a meme about him in poor taste due to his weight gain, etc., and the internet rallied to his defense because he was sexually assaulted in some fashion and was battling depression and as a result gained weight. It was pretty amazing how many people had his back. Dame Maggie Smith. I totally read that as Damn Maggie Smith, but that works too. Bob Ross. The corporation that owns his name surely doesn't love him. Everything that happened after his death is just sad. Exactly, they screwed his heirs out of all rights to his name, so don't buy any Bob Ross branded merchandise. The money just goes to scummy leeches. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.